In the smallest particles we are aware of, such as the atom you see here, we have a central object around which other objects circle. When you go to a bigger scale, such as the solar system, you have a central object, such as a star, which is the shining sun here, and many planets or objects that circle in its orbit. And when you go to an even bigger scale of a galaxy, which consists of billions of stars and solar systems, you have all of these solar systems or stars circling around a central object, a light in the center, which shows that as above, so below, as in the macro, so in the micro. The entire universe is governed by similar principles and laws, structured in a similar manner. The universe was not created randomly, coincidentally, or chaotically. There's an order, an organization to things. The universe is a intentional and deliberate design. And this is what, in my opinion, an entire universe looks like, with all kinds of galaxies circling in a ring around a center. Except that the center is possibly also a shining light. Science has not yet discovered that the universe itself is a circle, is a ring, but they will one day, because that's how infinity is structured. So just like you have many solar systems within a galaxy, and many galaxies within a universe, you have many universes within infinity. Many universes within the multiverse, and many multiverses within the omniverse, and many omniverses within infinity, and so forth and so on. These are roughly the planes of existence according to my research into consciousness. There's infinity, which is all that is, which can't really be said to be encircled, but I portray it that way here to make it easier to grasp. But it does contain all the lesser circles, which is the spiritual plane, and then one density lower, the astral plane, and then another density lower, the physical plane. The physical plane is created somewhat from the astral plane, mostly from the spiritual plane, and the spiritual plane is created from infinity. The physical plane itself is vast, encompassing many galaxies, but it is not unlimited. It is not infinite. And this physical reality that we take so importantly is only a tiny part of the whole of what is really going on. These planes of existence roughly correspond to the following aspects of self. So the physical universe roughly corresponds to our body and mind. The astral realm, which is very close to the physical realm, roughly corresponds to our emotions. The spiritual realm roughly corresponds to our soul, to our innermost essence, our individual higher self identity. And infinity corresponds to consciousness itself, to the ultimate essence. And all this is really a simplification. I'm trying to explain all that is in as simple terms as possible and according to my understanding based on research, based on lifelong research. In daily life, these aspects of self roughly correspond to states of being, doing, and having. So at the highest level, you have being and an interest in being and just being and your beingness, your state. One level down, it's about being this or that, taking on different roles. I am this, I am that. Another level down, it's about doing this or that. So you define your existence, your life, over what you do. I do this, I do that. My job is this and that. And another level down, at the purely physical, materialist level, you define your life over what you have, over what you own. I own this house, I own that car, I own those horses, and so forth. So in what a person prioritizes, you can pretty much tell his level of understanding, her level of consciousness. Another way to put this is in these modes of consciousness with reacting, remembering, and thinking being lower levels, lower modes of awareness and consciousness, and then imagination and intuition being higher modes of consciousness, and observing or pure presence and being at the highest level of consciousness. And the good thing is that you can practice these higher modes of consciousness in daily life. And the reason I emphasize the power of imagination, attention, and will so much is because most people are below that level. They're at the levels of reacting, remembering, and thinking, and that's how I get them to transcend those levels. Whereas I don't put quite as much emphasis on the pure being, or the observing, or the presence mode, because that's just not where most people are. The nature of infinity then looks something like this. You have little particles such as atoms circling around each other, and then you have a planet which circles around the solar system. And we haven't even reached planetary unity yet, not to mention higher unity, because we're lost in conflict and disunity and division on our planet. But one day, as the consciousness level of humanity rises, there will be planetary peace and planetary unity. And that's not going to be achieved by one centralized world government. That's not the way it works. And it's not going to be achieved by every nation being the same. It's going to work by a diverse planet of independent nations that love and respect each other, but maintain their uniqueness. The reason one centralized world government does not work, or will not work, is because one size does not fit all. And the unique identity of various nations wants to be maintained. People want to govern themselves locally, at least mature high consciousness people. So once planetary unity is achieved, we'll become more aware and interested in what's going on in our solar system. We'll expand our awareness to that. Not only physically, but also spiritually. And then we'll expand our travels throughout the whole galaxy and integrate the realities and experiences to be made within the entire galaxy. And then once we start exploring other galaxies, we're at a consciousness level that encompasses the entire universe, which is that ring that I showed you. Finally, our awareness will expand to the multiverse, to that which contains several universes. And by now, we've gone way, way, way beyond just physical being, because in order to experience the multiverse, you have to have a non-physical perspective, a spiritual perspective. And then there's the Omniverse, within which you find various levels of enlightenment and heaven and bliss and things that defy imagination and description in this earthly context. The way a universe is created really is through a kind of Big Bang explosion. But it's not that that Big Bang explosion is a coincidence or happens by itself, as some scientists say. It's actually deliberately intended, deliberately created through the focus of higher beings. So stupid minds are debating whether the universe was created through a Big Bang or whether it was created by God. And that's just a stupid, divisive discussion, because the truth is both. It's that God applied the method of Big Bang to create this particular universe and many others. And again, you'll see this in the small, in that life is created following an explosion. That explosion is called orgasm in the sexual act. Galaxies begin through explosions. And perhaps that is the reason some people enjoy fireworks, because it reminds them of creation itself. However, on this physical plane, the fireworks dissipate. The creations of humans tend to dissipate if they're not maintained. Whereas for Source, the source of the universe, the creation explodes and it's maintained over billions and billions of years. However, everything except the Omniverse, everything except infinity eventually dissipates or goes back to itself. So you have out of one, many, and then everything recedes back to out of many, one. It's like breathing in and out. First there's an outward motion of creation, and then an inward motion of decreation, of going back to source. So all these souls that are created, all these stars that are created, will one day go back to source. One day go back to their origin. One day go back to the Creator. And the same applies in your life. If there's something that you have created in your life, you will one day take it back into yourself, and then it will cease to exist in your reality. And that's the secret of decreating or dissolving a reality. To welcome it, to bring it back, to reintegrate it into your whole being. Whereas the secret of creating a reality on a miniature scale is to focus, 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 focus until that explosion occurs, that manifestation in physical reality. It's no different than creating an entire universe, no different than the sexual act, and many other things. The reason we're generally unaware of all of this is because we've become somewhat hypnotized with the details, with the small aspects, with little bothersome things of daily life. And in a sense, we worship these things. That which you revere and that which you give a lot of attention to, you worship. And the original purpose of religions, before religions were distorted and watered down and perverted, was to put attention back to highest source, to the only thing worth worshipping, rather than taking lesser things so seriously and getting lost in the details. Focus on high source gradually brings you back to source. Makes you become lighter, stronger, higher. So that's a brief rundown of everything that is and your situation on planet Earth, all in one easy to understand video. If you enjoyed this presentation, recommend it far and wide. My name is Fred Dodson of realitycreation.org.